Plot twist, this is actually just a video about Zero the Hutt, aka the original and only necessary gay icon. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. In honor of June being Pride Month, I decided to do a video showcasing some of the LGBT plus representation in the current canon of Star Wars. That is sadly saying that I will not be talking about anything from the Legends timeline, not because I don't like them, but because I kind of want to stick with what we've currently got, and since this is what we need built upon, to not give Disney any credit for something they didn't do. So, in addition to that, that means I will not be talking about any headcanons. I know some fans are very strong and stick to their guns that some characters are of the LGBT community, but I'm only talking about stuff that Disney or Lucasfilm has in the sand firmly stated they are gay in either the text that they're in or in interviews. So, and again, not because I necessarily believe that these characters shouldn't be, but because I just want to talk about the stuff that we do have, because it doesn't count as representation if it's just the fan base making it out to be representation. The only semi-ambiguous character that I think that belongs on this list, but it's vague, is actually Zero the Hutt, ironically. And that's because he's not confirmed in the canon as gay. Instead of confirming or denying his sexuality, Dave Filoni has said that Zero is based off of known gay writer Truman Capote, and that's why he's so stereotyped, and he's very flamboyant, and he's very lispy and everything. So he's kind of a gay stereotype. But more so is the fact that the topic of Hutties, gender fluidity, which is a topic I never thought I would ever be talking about in Star Wars, but hey, is basically they are hermaphroditic species in the sense that they contain both male and female reproductive organs, and gender is chosen by the individual. It's very possible that this is the closest we will ever get for a long time discussing transgender topics in Star Wars. But either way, I think that he does kind of belong on this list because gender fluidity does fit into the LGBT community. From here on out, the characters are going to be straight up not straight. So that's to say that it will be written in text their sexualities. Literally, because they're all comic book and book characters. And a good portion of them, we'll dive right in, is actually in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. But let's first talk about the Empire's views on sexuality, which he does bring up in the second novel, Life Debt. Apparently, the Empire kind of has a don't ask, don't tell kind of look on it, which isn't surprising because the Empire is not really composed of free thinkers. They're all about uniform and utilitarian principles. The only purpose for a relationship in the Empire is to be a breeder and to reproduce. But they're not really gonna slate you for what happens behind closed doors. They're just kind of like, meh. Sinjarath Velis is actually the first openly gay male character. So Velis is a formal Imperial officer who eventually turned the rebellion after the second Death Star's demise. After that, he develops a relationship with a male rebellion slicer named Condor Kyle. Now, he's a little bit awkward about it because you can kind of tell that he's not used to being out in the open about his relationship, but the planet of Chandrilla is a lot more open-minded than what he's used to. More representation in the Aftermath trilogy includes Esmel and Shireen Wexley. Esmel is Nora Wexley's sister, and she ends up actually taking care of Nora's son and raising him. Basically, Shireen and Esmel end up being his surrogate mothers. They are a lesbian couple, and it's not a very big part of the plot. It's very just natural in the story that they take care of him and they raise him. Also in the Aftermath trilogy, there's reference of somebody else having two dads or something, and that's a very throwaway line in character. But it just goes to show that Wendig actually created a universe with a lot of diversity across the board. The Lando comics of all places actually has a gay couple in the form of Alexin and Pavel. They are actually feline alien clones of each other that are in a relationship, and they're very skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and they're kind of like kills for hire, and Lando hires them because they're so skilled in combat. They want to use the proceeds that they've received from Lando to procure another clone, and they want to raise him like their son, similar to what Jango did with Boba. The very first LGBT plus character in the current canon of Star Wars actually was in Paul S. Kemp's Lords of the Sith book, and that was Moff Delian Moores. She is referenced to having a wife. Sadly, her wife is killed, and she sort of suffers a severe amount of depression from it. I will say that none of these relationships, except for Shireen and Esmail, I think, have relationships that work out, but I can't wholly blame the authors for that, because literally every relationship in Star Wars falls apart to some extent. Even our #1 power couple. Sad. In the Bloodline novel by Claudia Gray, it's mentioned that Ladani, who's an X-Wing pilot, is in a relationship with a man from Corellia. It's very, again, one-off note, but it's in there. Our favorite space archaeologist, Dr. Aphra, is confirmed by her character creator, Kieran Gillen, that she is a lesbian. Now, this doesn't really appear in the context of the comics yet. This hopefully isn't another J.K. Rowling kind of situation, but evidently in an interview, they do say that Dr. Aphra is indeed a lesbian. But what is definite is in the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston, Kaden Learte, who Ahsoka befriends on Rayeda and eventually ends up rescuing, as well as her little sister and friends. But yes, Kaden Learte does develop a crush on Ahsoka, and she tells her, she shoots her shot. From a certain point of view, by many artists, there is a story called Of MSE6 and Men, which is supposed to be like Of Mice and Men, and it tells the story of Stormtrooper TK421 and his superior officer, Lieutenant Blag. It tells their illicit affair from the perspective of a mouse droid. So that's the thing. I want to say that it's only a matter of time before this kind of representation is thoroughly integrated in Star Wars, and then nobody will bat an eye and it'll just be normal. But sadly, we're kind of crawling towards that day. And hopefully we innovate, we grow, we evolve as people. I myself am not a member of the LGBT plus community, but I am a consumer, and as a consumer of this gigantic galaxy, I believe that it is my job to demand diversity in stories and have different stories be told. And I know the response a lot of people have is that it shouldn't matter if someone's gay, straight, or whatever else. It should just be about the story being told. But if that's the case, then you shouldn't care if they implement that stuff. You shouldn't care if a character is gay. You shouldn't accuse them of shoving it down your throat, as long as the story being told is good. So it kind of begs a lot of questions and a lot of conversations. I just think everyone needs to be more respectful toward each other and what we want out of Star Wars and what we want out of our media. But either way, it is good that we have the baby steps we have now, and this way it can project us hopefully to a greater tomorrow. If there are any characters I missed, please let me know. I tried to do a lot of digging, but with the novels, sometimes it's not always brought up in what you're looking for. I read a lot of the books. I read the books that I'm talking about now, so that's why I know for certain that they're in there. But if there's anything that I missed, please let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe. You guys, happy Pride Month, and may the Force be with you.